Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Today we're headed to South Carolina and the village of Coosawhatchie, located about midway between Charleston and Savannah, Georgia. It's Christmas Day, 1861. About 20 miles away, as the crow flies, lay coastal Port Royal, which just weeks earlier had fallen to Union amphibious operations, the Army and the Navy establishing a foothold in the first state to secede and where the war had, only 8 months earlier, exploded with the bombardment of Fort Sumter. Now, the area and surrounding sea islands, including Hilton Head and nearby Beaufort, were invested with federal Army and Navy troops, the numbers growing by the day. Meanwhile, on this day, December 25th, the first of four Christmases in a nation at civil war, the Confederate commanding general of the Coastal Department of South Carolina, Georgia, and East Florida wrote a letter to his wife from his headquarters at Coosawhatchie, a long way from his Virginia home. He was, of course, Robert E. Lee. Just a couple days before Union Army and Navy forces had scored that success at Port Royal, Lee had left Richmond to take on these new duties in South Carolina, ordered by President Jefferson Davis to oversee and improve the defenses of the vital and vulnerable coastal region between those cities, Charleston and Savannah. Lee was a strong choice for the assignment, considering his education and experiences as a military engineer. President Davis, you might argue, made a wise choice in selecting Lee. On the flip side, it was perhaps a prudent political choice, considering the criticism that Lee had received for his recent handling of operations in Western Virginia that tarnished his reputation at the expense of a young, charismatic Union general, George B. McClellan, whose military star was in the ascendant. The two, of course, would meet again. But at this point, far away in the Palmetto State, Lee penned a Christmas Day letter to his wife, Mary. Like so many letters written by privates, generals, and all the ranks in between, it mixed personal and public matters. In this letter, Lee remarks on the loss of their home, Arlington, and where they might go. He also comments on the chances of the United States going to war with Britain and reveals his grit and determination to fight a long war for independence. I want to read the letter to you. It is datelined Coosawhatchie, South Carolina, 25 December 61. Lee writes, I cannot let this day of grateful rejoicing pass, dear Mary, without some communion with you. I am thankful for the many among the past that I have passed with you, and the remembrance of them fills me with pleasure. For those on which we have been separated, we must not repine. If it will make us more resigned and better prepared for what is in store for us, we should rejoice. Now we must be content with the many blessings we receive. If we can only become sensible of our transgressions so as to be fully penitent and forgiven, that this heavy punishment under which we labor may with justice be removed from us and the whole nation, what a gracious consummation of all that we have endured it will be. I hope you had a pleasant visit to Richmond. So you do not like my invitation to Fayetteville? I thought I gave you the choice of Richmond too, as well as Charleston and Savannah, but for the threatening movements of the enemy. Well, it shows the perverseness of human nature to reject those agreeable cities that were accessible and select by decrepit and deserted village because inaccessible. If you were to see this place, I think you would leave it too. I'm here but little myself. The days I am not away, I visit some point exposed to the enemy, and after our dinner at early candlelight am engaged in writing till 11 or 12 at night. But this place is too exposed to attack for the residence of a person as hard to move as you are. You would be captured while you were waiting a moment. As to our old home, Arlington, if not destroyed, it will be difficult ever to be recognized. Even if the enemy had wished to preserve it, it would almost have been impossible. With the number of troops encamped around it, the change of officers, and etc., the want of fuel, shelter, and etc., and all the dire necessities of war, it is vain to think of it being in a habitable condition. I fear too, books, furniture, and the relics of Mount Vernon will be gone. It is better to make up our minds to a general loss. They cannot take away the remembrances of the spot and the memories of those that to us rendered it sacred. That will remain to us long as life will last, and that we can preserve. In the absence of a home, I wish I could purchase Stratford Hall. That is the only other place that I could go to now accessible to us that would inspire me with feelings of pleasure and local love. You and the girls could remain there in quiet. It is a poor place, but we could make enough cornbread and bacon for our support and the girls. They could weave us clothes. I wonder if it is for sale and at how much. Ask Fitzhugh to try and find out when he gets to Fredericksburg. You must not build your hopes on peace on account of the U.S. going to a war with England. She will be very loath to do that, notwithstanding the bluster of the Northern papers. Her rulers are not entirely mad, and if they find England is in the earnest, and that war or a restitution of their captives must be the consequence, they will adopt the latter. We must make up our minds to fight our battles and win our independence alone. No one will help us. We require no extraneous aid, if true to ourselves, but we must be patient. It is not a light achievement and cannot be accomplished at once. I am very glad to hear of poor Anne. Her miseries are increased by the war, too. I am glad to hear of the kind sympathies and aid of Eleanor Rogers and Edmund. I had not heard of poor little Mary's sickness, and I do not know to what you allude when speaking of Park's affliction. We must expect Mrs. Bonaparte and other pretty friends to be opposed to us. They wish to save their claims. It is necessary to them to preserve their good dinners. It will not last. I have received your letter enclosing Charlotte's and etc. I cannot write to her tonight. I wrote a few days since, giving you all the news, and have now therefore nothing to relate. The enemy is still quiet and increasing in strength. We grow in size slowly, but are working hard. I have had a day of labor instead of rest, and have written at intervals to some of the children. I hope they are with you and enclose my letters. Give much love to F, C, A, little Rob, and all. Affectionately and truly yours, R.E. Lee. So there you have a letter by Robert E. Lee, written on Christmas Day of 1861 to his wife Mary. The really interesting mix there of personal news and his reflections on public matters. Note the discussion about the possibilities of a war between the U.S. and England, and his own opinion that the Confederate States must go it alone and not to expect any help. And what he also thought was the complete loss of Arlington. It sounded like he might have thought the destruction of Arlington. Of course, Arlington House was preserved and stands today. And in 1862, less than a year after he wrote this letter, he was back in Virginia in command of the now Army of Northern Virginia and would lead not one, but two incursions into the North, partly with the hopes that Europe would come to the Confederacy's aid. So thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail.